how to use a vicious cycle to supersize and grow your business. Sharon Horne-Ellstrom here. Yesterday I shared 10 English idioms that refer to difficulties or challenges or problems, and one of them was a vicious cycle. I kept calling it a vicious circle, and I was kind of beating myself up in my head and on video about mixing up the word cycle and circle. Lo and behold, upon researching the origin of a vicious cycle, I found out that circle and cycle are synonymous. They mean the same thing, and this saying and this idiom has actually been interchanged between circle and cycle over time. Circle probably was the first meaning of it, and then cycle was kind of substituted as well. Now, a vicious cycle is, of course, not a great thing, right? Not a good thing. So you're thinking, well, how can I use a vicious cycle, which is a really bad thing? It means a circular argument or something like a downward spiral that gets worse and worse and worse. Comes from the French, saying it's been around. There's a big history of where it's appeared in writing in different meanings. Since it has a couple of different meanings, it can refer to a thought cycle, a way of thinking that's negative and downward. It can be, it can refer to a circular argument where the truth or validity of the first statement depends on the results of the second statement, but then the second statement also depends on the first statement. So like a circular argument. There's lots of examples of a vicious cycle all around us. Poverty is an example of a vicious cycle. People that are raised in poverty or born in poverty tend to stay in poverty. Here's another example. The fatter I get, the more unhappy I feel. The more unhappy I feel, the more I eat to feel better. The more I eat to feel better, the more weight I gain. The more weight I gain, the fatter I get, and so on in this endless loop. Negative thinking, negative thoughts. For example, in personal relationships, doubting someone's trustworthiness, even in business partnership, not knowing if you can trust someone or not, will lead you to behave in ways that act like you don't trust them. When people feel like they're not trusted, they often do the very thing that you are afraid that they'll do. Fear is a huge example of a vicious cycle. I kind of think all negative emotions, doubt, worry, fear, lack of forgiveness, lack of trust, unworthiness, not feeling good enough. I think these are all thought loops that become self-fulfilling prophecies. Self-fulfilling prophecies are sort of a vicious cycle and a vicious circle as well. So how can you use these things to grow and build and supersize your business? Well, the chances are the people that you serve, the people, your customers, your best ideal customers, have some of these thought loops or vicious cycles or vicious circles going on in their life. They've got a problem or a difficulty that's probably been with them for a long time. They've probably done other things to try to solve the problem or the challenge that you solve for them. So by ending the cycle, ending the vicious circle in their life, you are doing them an incredibly valuable service. And providing solutions to them ends these vicious cycles and these vicious circles that might have been going on for years or months, well, days, weeks, months, years, depending on the severity of the challenge or the problem. If you can end a vicious cycle and solve a problem for someone, they will love you, they will adore you, they will continue to do business with you whenever it's appropriate for the rest of their lives. So we can take something that's normally considered a negative and we can turn it into a positive by creating solutions for people. I would love to know what you think about this expression and about this idiom, a vicious cycle. If you have ever thought about it or ways that you can use it to solve problems for your customers. What cycles are they already in? What cycle of thinking? How are they thinking about the problem that they have? Is the problem that they have that you solve for them continually feeding and building upon itself and becoming a vicious cycle or a vicious circle? And if it is, where can you come into that process, and how can you actually cut that off and end that cycle of negativity or downward spiral for them to help them to change the trajectory of their life, the trajectory of their results, to get them the results that they actually want, not the ones that they thought that they've had to continue to live with. For example, if you help people to improve their sales, poor sales is another example of a vicious cycle or a vicious circle. Say your business is having poor sales, you're struggling, you're having a sales downturn. It might be things outside of you that's causing that, but usually one of the first things a company or a business does is they lay people off. Well, when you lay people off and you have less resources dedicated towards sales, guess what happens to your sales? Your sales continue to decline. So then you lay off more people and you get the same self-fulfilling prophecy, the same vicious cycle of poorer and poorer and poorer sales. That's why if, say, your company goes in and helps people to generate leads, find more customers, increase sales, increase profitability, you can end that vicious cycle of poor sales where they don't have to lay people off. Show them other solutions, other ways of cutting off that vicious cycle, nipping it in the bud, and giving them and helping them create the results they want. So that's how I use a vicious cycle or a vicious circle with my customers to solve problems for them, to help to grow and supersize my business. If I can help you in any way, if you have comments or discussions about this vicious cycle or vicious circle, or if you're looking for what it is for your ideal customers, hit me up in the comments below and we'll have a discussion about it. Have an absolutely amazing day. Check your life and see if there are any vicious cycles or vicious circles going on for you. I know that I have some behaviors and habits that are actually vicious circles. An example is over the holidays, I tend to eat more sweets and eat more sugar than is good for me. And then my joints hurt and swell up, and then I feel bad and negative, so I eat more sugar to get that little buzz, and it becomes this little vicious circle. And I know that the only way to stop that is to actually cut sugar out for a certain period of time, like say 5 to 10 days, I just won't eat any sugar. And then that resets my personal body clock, and that gets me out of that vicious cycle. Think of your life. Do you have examples of little things like that that might not seem like a big deal, but they do impact you in your life? Share in the comments below, because I would love to know. Otherwise, have an amazing day. Vicious circle, vicious cycle free. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.